You meet with a group, they represent a family or a group of family office high net worth investors, and they go, we don't hedge. Our investors want pure exposure to the commodity. Sorry, no thanks. I'm curious that you've definitely converted some of those, right? Which is always a feather in the cap for any kind of company who gets that kind of response out of the gate. But what do you say in that scenario, and how do you ultimately get them to sit on your side of the table and see eye to eye?
Yeah, I guess my flippant response to that would be I really want to meet those investors. I haven't met them who said, "Gosh, I underwrote this asset at $9 gas, and I'm really glad I'm exposed to the 230. I'm getting in the front right now." I think that's something that we've told ourselves over time in the industry, that our investors really want the exposure. I think they want the exposure when we expect prices going up, and they want absolute protection on the downside, is what they'd really say if they could tell us that. But I get it, right? Every portfolio is looking for a mix of assets that are going to be inflation hedges. Let's just use that as a really simple example, and that's a fair comment. But I would argue that just means you might choose to hedge a little bit less. What you don't want to do is put your investment at risk. How do you ensure you can cover at a minimum any debt you might have on? Now, do we want to make sure we cover G&A? Do we want to make sure we cover a 5% return on the investment just as a stopgap, and leave upside for the remainder of it? Those are the actions you can take when you're running a more sophisticated hedging program that say, hey, look, we know the goal we're solving for, right? Because there's a revenue target that's going to deliver all of those: protection against any debt we may have, cover G&A, cover some minimal return. And then, we can actually model different hedges that will achieve the same outcome. Our goal is simple at Aegis: hedge the least amount possible, right? To meet your goals. And that becomes a really foundational piece of our conversations we have with customers, when we all understand what the goals are, and we're all looking for opportunities to increase our certainty towards hitting those. But and let's leave the upside anytime we can.